Happy Thursday. Doo-doo-doo. Hello, y'all. Welcome to the clock out. The clock out is very clocked out because it's 8 o'clock. But there's been so much going on in the community events. So I just left a really awesome community chat. And it was absolutely fabulous. So if you have not joined the free Career Love community, go ahead and do that so you can make sure you can go to our next chat. So that's where I came up from. If you are here, drop a hey girl hey in the comments. I would absolutely love to know that you are tuning in, watching, and ready to walk in confidence in your career. So that is what, excuse me, that is what we are talking about today. Also, I will need to take intermediate breaks because the dog was like, I'm not coming inside, girl. There's a squirrel outside. I'm not coming inside. So I got to go check on the dog in about 20 minutes, okay? So I promise I will come back. But there will be little tiny breaks for just me to make sure he's okay outside. Okay, so today we are talking about walking in confidence at work and really navigating your career from a place of confidence. I know that in this market, with all of the challenges, layoffs, all of the things going on at work, I know that it can kind of get us into that. You know, I just realized my camera was a little crooked. That's fine. It's not moving, so crooked it is today. I'll just hold my head slightly this way. But yeah, okay, so I know with all of the things going on in the workplace, it is hard to feel like you can walk in confidence at work because, you know, you don't want your job to be at risk. You don't want to be negatively impacted. You don't want to seem ungrateful, whatever it is. But I also think that in this time and place, there's always opportunities to still be able to walk in our power, like not be valued, be seen, be heard. I think that just because we know all that's going on doesn't mean that we have to relax our expectations of our supervisors, our peers, the organization. And I know that with the rollback of DEI, it can seem pretty likely, like, oh, you know what, I am going to have to not really hold to all of these standards or all of these expectations that I have about having an inclusive workplace. But honestly and truly, I think that the more that we continue to say, hey, we're not going to allow these shifts and changes from the administration, from anti-DEI to shift or change how we should be respected and seen as Black women in the workplace. That's my 2 cents and I'm sticking to it. So if you're hanging around, just know that those 2 cents are going to become 5 and 10 and 15 and a whole dollar, because we were talking about confidence at work, right? And it means you do not shrink. It means that you're not going to allow people to undervalue you, to not hear you, right? And so those are some of the things that we are walking through today. So if you're here, I see y'all. I see the numbers ticking up. So go ahead and say hello, even if it's just like, hey girl, hey. I promise if you're like, girl, I don't want to be called out, just say, hey, it's okay. I won't put you on the screen till later. No, just kidding. But yeah, just say hello, and we'll get into it. So if you don't know me and this is your first time meeting or hearing about me, whatever, discovering me, my name is Mercedes Swan. I'm the Career Love Coach. I am a career coach for Black women and the founder of the Career Love community. So my goal in this life and hopefully every other life next is to create a place where Black women can be supported and to be in a space where we are actually creating careers and businesses that we really love. Hey, Monica, welcome back, girl. Hey, girl, hey. It's good to see you. But yeah, just creating this career that we love so that we can truly, thrive in the workplace, thrive outside of work and things like that, okay? So what we are going through today is all in the energy of you being that girl. So if you are here, you are listening, you didn't want to say, hey, girl, hey, at least drop me a I'm that girl in the comments, okay? Because we're talking about that today. And I think there are a couple of ways that you can really walk in confidence and be that girl in the workplace. So the first one, we're going to talk about this idea of gathering receipts to prove that you are that girl, because some people, like our supervisors, know that we're that girl, our peers, our colleagues, our best friends, our mamas, whoever, our partners, but we don't really recognize that. And then we don't move through the workplace as though we are that girl. And it often leads to us not going for things, or it leads to us not valuing ourselves so that we do stand up for what we want and what we desire and all of those different things. So I want you to know that you're that girl. So we're going to start to gather those receipts. I'm going to tell you about different things. Yeah, Gabrielle said I'm that girl. Okay, if you're here, Come on. Be like Gabrielle. Say I'm that girl. I'm not trying to put none of y'all business out of the street. I don't know if that's why y'all was quiet because you didn't want to put me to put your comment up there. But yeah, just tell me you're that girl. 2, we're gonna move as though you are that girl, period. 3, we're going to be strategic and act accordingly. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that you need to consider as you are navigating the workplace so that you can be that girl, right? You can't get the promotion, you can't get the raise, you can't get what you want out of this situation. And then I'm going to talk about the different ways that you can really show up unapologetically and confident in what you are asking and what you are doing. So, as per usual, let me know if you have any questions about anything that I'm mentioning. Feel welcome to share your experience, things that you're learning, things that you desire and that you want in your career. And I'm gonna ask maybe I don't know if y'all feel safe. I promise I have a safe space for you. But what's one of maybe the things that you did at work most recently to prove that you are her, that you are that girl? I would say for me, before I left, I was like, there was this project. So I was assigned to do a strategy for DEI, right? And there was this project, and it was a project that I'm not putting nobody business out here in the streets, but it was a project that had been stalled for a long time, but everyone knew it was a project that really needed to happen. And I was like, oh, I would love to do that project. Like, can I do that project? Yeah. And so in that process, I think that was definitely one of the places where I showed up and said, I'm that girl. Okay. I'm about to do it. I don't care who else couldn't do it, said they couldn't do it, shouldn't do it, whatever. This is what we need to do. And I'm the girl to do it. Okay. So I'm that girl. Okay. So tell me in the comments, what was the last thing you did at work to say that you, or to prove, or to share that you were that girl in the workplace? Okay, getting things done. A boss. Hey, Kimberly. Hey, girl. Hey, I love you. You all are rolling in. I love it. So yeah, if you are taking a little bit to type and think that out, that is totally fine. That will be our kind of discussion or prompt for our live stream today. If you are just joining and you're like, or what? We are talking about confidence, navigating confidence in the workplace today. And also in maybe like 10 minutes or so, I'm going to go check on the dog because poor baby would not come inside. Okay. So I got to go check on him. Okay. So I'm asking you this prompt about the last time that you were that girl, you felt like you were that girl, because I think that's a key part in like understanding our worth and navigating the workplace with confidence. Right. And so I think it is extremely important to carry your receipts, because receipts are not just for you. Well, receipts, I will say, are most important for you most of the time. Because usually when you have your receipts and you feel confident in your worth and your value, it doesn't matter. Like who's going to check me? That was a thumbnail for this. Who is going to check you, right? If you know you're that girl, nobody's really going to come. They're going to know they can't really come for you that way. Or if they do, you know, they already lost their mind. Okay. Cause you're going to set them straight. Okay. Cause you're that girl. And I think that when we have the receipts of being that girl, again, it allows us to operate in that energy more confidently. And then I will also say that when we are advocating for ourselves, that is going to be one of the things that we're talking about moving as if it is already yours. Sorry for that. I'm going to turn that down a little bit. Moving as though you are already that girl. It requires you to sometimes have those receipts to back up essentially what you are looking to accomplish. Okay. Sorry about that. I think let me turn this down a little bit. Okay, I have guests coming, so I have the volume up. Okay, so here are a couple of the ways. Okay, Monica. Okay, so I'm going to put Monica's name up on the screen. I don't know if that's why y'all are uncomfortable, so just let me know if you don't care. Okay, so created a mobile app for our event attendees that boosted engagement. Okay, is this a bullet, Monica? Is this a resume bullet? Okay, the only thing you need is how much, okay? Was it boosted by 20%, 30%, 50%? And increase membership sales. Beautiful. Hey, that is something you should be proud of. That is definitely being that girl energy, period. Okay, keep going off in the comments. Okay. So here are the things. So one, I will say this, that often when we are in our careers, like we talk about, why do these things happen in the workplace? Why does this happen? Da, da, da. And a lot of times the dynamics that we see are based in power, right? It's somebody, whether it's our supervisor, our peers, it may be a struggle for power. And sometimes that's connected to position, right? So if you're like, oh, this person's in competition with me, or oh, they're trying to, maybe they're trying to, Okay. Yes, Monica. Monica said, I got the metrics 40 and 35%, period. There we go. That girl energy. I already got the metrics. Okay. So, sorry to put. So to pull all of that back, I'm saying that because sometimes that power imbalance can do a couple of things to you. Again, it can have you feel like you don't really have the leeway that you do because you don't know the power that you hold, right? So I talk about this early on in my career, right, where I had a lot of power even though I was an individual contributor because I was managing so much of the HR process, right? Like losing me was a big challenge to overcome in the way that I was operating and navigating the workplace in terms of what I had oversight of, right? So that was power, right? And so a lot of times when we go into these situations, oh, hi, Kay, woo, I love y'all. Okay, y'all said Thursdays is it. Y'all said I'm here. Hello, Kay, welcome into the live. Okay, so sorry. So sometimes that the power imbalance is what creates the issues when we are trying to navigate and to basically move through things, right? And so I think sometimes part of this dynamic of actually moving in confidence in your career is really based in you feeling like you have power or not, and the other people around you understanding that you have power or not. If you, and I know this is true for Black women, if you are somebody that is overseeing things and you're the only one that knows how to do it and how to do it and how to get done, you hold power, right? So understand that that is what happens. And so I will see it happen a lot where like a beautiful Black woman is like, hey, I have done so much. I have done this. I have not gotten a raise in 3 years. Or if I did get a raise, it's a little raise. It's not the raise that I really need or feel like I deserve, right? And you go in and you make the request for the raise and they deny it. You're like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe they would do that. I've done so much. And you just get upset and you leave, or you do. I'm not saying you can't leave, like actually leave. You just get upset. And you just like drop it, right? What I'm talking about is showing up in confidence, is understanding that you have the power, like you hold so many chips if you are the only person that knows how to do something, right? And so to understand your level of power is to also understand that you can always negotiate, and the no right now is maybe not a forever no. And I say that as a story that I tell about my first time really negotiating my salary, when they like did not give me my salary increase and I was pissed and everybody knew it. And they were like, oh man, she's going to leave. And I got my raise. I was still pissed and I ended up leaving. But that's what I'm saying. Like, if and listen, that's me 3 years out of college, maybe not even 3 years out of college. So I say that because a lot of times we say, oh, well, we in our role in the work that we do, we don't have that power. So that's why I'm asking you to really get into it and really define like the power that you have in being that girl. Okay, so Monica is the only person who has put in the chat her metrics and what she had did. So let me know, like, really. I mean, if you're like, okay, I don't want to put it out there in the streets, that's totally fine. But still, please write it down. Something that has recently proved. Oh, period. Kimberly said you don't know unless you ask. Period, Kimberly. You don't know unless you ask. And some of us, based on fear or based on how they have undervalued us over time, says, oh, well, we won't get what we want. They won't even say yes, and we don't know. And so, sometimes these guys say, like, okay, you're gonna say no a couple times, and then I'll get what I want later. Okay. So yeah, so please ask. Please ask. Okay. So I'm telling you why this is important. So I want you like, oh, there's a dog. Okay, I'm coming. I knew he wasn't gonna stay out there. He's so rude. 1 second, I'll be right back. Can y'all hear me running to the door? Because I'm wearing my mic. Stinker. He whined and whined and whined and whined to go outside. And whined to go outside. And now he's like, I'm just kidding. I want to be back inside now. That's why y'all don't get a beagle. That's why you don't get a beagle. Okay. He's down here now. He's about to harass me inside instead of outside. Okay, sorry, I'm back. So focus. Okay, so I think it's a really good thing to always carry your receipts. Sorry, the camera's not in focus now. Focus on my face. It's not focusing on my face. Oh. I'm sorry, y'all. I guess I'll just permanently be in a focus for this live. You don't really need to see my face. What? Okay, there we go. Finally got it. Okay, I'm really here. Squirrel 80. Y'all know I have ADHD, right? It's okay, we're here. Okay, so here are the different ways that you can gather your receipts if I still have you here. Say it, girl, hey, in the chat if you're still here. Okay, so what you have done, what you have accomplished, what your value is, and what you do to hold things together for your organization, right? So I was getting at that oftentimes Black women, we're in those support roles where they haven't promoted us, right? We are doing a lot above and beyond our titles, our compensation, and even how they treat us sometimes, right? Like, oh, we're going to be the person that does all of this, but I don't get to sit in the room where all of these things are discussed and decided upon, right? Like those are all of the things that we typically experience, right? The interesting thing about that is, however, we do oversee the process or the operation or the project, whatever it is. And so what I'm telling you is to start to outline all of those things, because that will quickly begin to show you really how the scales are, right? And actually how much power you do hold in an organization, because the more power that you have in what you are overseeing gives you actual leverage to ask for what you want. And that is what I'm trying to help you see. So our goal here is for you to be actually taking the steps to really stack up that evidence that you are that girl based on your goals, right? So for example, I'm going to talk about some of the goals in just a minute, but let's say you want the promotion, right? And you are like, well, I want this promotion. Well, how are the things that I'm already doing stack up against that, right? And I will say this. So one of the stories is that when I was a lot of times when you are promoted in a role, and you have maybe not done the role before, like, so for instance, if you're taking your first move into management, or you're overseeing another department that is maybe not what you've quite done, but you know that you have a really great skill set and you're really interested in going that route, the dynamics that's often going to enable that to occur is because they know that you are high potential because of all of the things that you've managed, and you've consistently advocated for yourself and talked about your accolades and your accomplishments. And also they are afraid to lose you in that skill set. And I know a lot of people will be like, well, Mercedes, how are they scared to lose me if they're not treating me right, or they're not giving me this, or blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, because they haven't really seen the facts, right? I say this, I see this all the time. I truly do. All of the different ways in which, oh, we didn't think we were going to get that, or they never gave me the raise, or they never gave me the promotion, but it was because you never really required them to, because it was an option before. It's not an option now. Okay. And when you have a lot of power, it's easier to make it not an option for them, right? It's like, okay, well, you're going to figure this out for me or I'm leaving. Okay. So so essentially that's how I want you to gather your receipts. So an action item after this live is really to like write those things down and begin to really think about all of the ways that you are doing things that are high value in an organization, and why that would be really rough for you to not be there to do them. And next, you're going to take that based on your goal. So if your goal, okay, let me do this. There are a couple of goals that you might have, and your goal is to say, hey, here's all this evidence I have, and here's what I want, and how that supports that, right? And your goal based on that is to move as though it is already occurring, as though you are going to get what you, right? And so what happens is I will see people say, oh, well, I won't do this project, or I won't operate or connect with people this way, right? Okay, I won't go build relationships with leaders because that's not my job. I'm not here to work with the leaders. That's my supervisor's job. Well, those are some of the things that are going to help you get promoted, right? Visibility is going to help you get promoted. Strong relationships, sponsors, advocates for you in the workplace. And I don't just mean for a promotion. I even mean things like raises, right? Often the decision makers, and I'm going to talk about that when we talk next about what are the key things to consider, but those individuals are often part of the process. And so they are watching you, whether you know it or not. And I'll tell my story with my promotion kind of and getting through some of these. But what I'm saying is that if you are moving as though you know you are going to move into management, it's just a matter of when, then you are shifting and changing how you are moving, right? Instead of saying, oh, well, they're never going to give it to me. They never promote Black women. That's not true, right? I know it's rough. I know we're dealing with a lot right now. That is still not true. Black women are getting promoted every single day. I see it on LinkedIn. Yes, I see the layoffs. Yes, I see the challenges. Yes, I see the 100 applications. But what I want you to know that what is for you is for you, right? So if you're one of the Black women that's meant to get promoted this year, go ahead and get it, girl. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. Go ahead and get it. Okay, let me stop. But I did have coffee. Coffee doesn't do what it does for me for you, so it didn't really mean anything, but I like to make that joke. Okay, so those are some of the things I'm talking about, of moving in an organization, moving in your role as though it's possible, right? And so some of the things that you might be thinking about, and I'm going to list them all, is one, moving as though you were already going to receive the promotion, right? Whenever, however your supervisor leaves. What does that mean for you tactically, right? Like, oh, I'm going to make sure that I'm taking on projects that equip me or enable me to learn management level skills, delegation, relationship building, informally in this case, or even formally, like maybe there's a project where you can manage people, but managing others. What are the skill sets that are required in your field or your industry to move into that role? Maybe I'm going to go ahead and get those, right? That's the way that you move, as though you already know that you are her. You are already that girl that got that promotion. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Okay, and that's like very confident, right? Because nobody's going to put all their eggs in a basket if they don't really think they're, and I'm not saying all in one basket, y'all know what I'm saying? I'm not saying, oh, we got to only get the promotion at this employee. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that like I'm really dedicated and I know this is going to come to pass. It just is a matter of where and when, right? But I know, so I'm equipping and preparing myself, okay? Number two is to make moves. And I think that too often we are afraid of rejection, or we are afraid of not getting what we want, so then we don't make the moves, right? So when I was looking to move into management, I said I was going to tell the story at the end, right? But when I was looking to move into management, right, I was having conversations and I was getting certificates and I was going to courses as though I was preparing for a management role that was not available on my team. And I will say this, I did not think that position was going to become available as quickly as it was. And so if I wasn't moving as though it was already possible, I would not have actually been prepared to get that role. Okay, but I was moving and I was talking with leaders and I was trying to figure out what projects I could take on that's higher level. I was having development conversations about moving into management. I was asking about training opportunities to train, for me, but to train others so that I could demonstrate that was a skill set for me, right? These are all of the subtle little we don't like to say that. Political moves, I get it. I know it's like rough. Like we see ourselves be really like damaged by political moves in an organization. I'm not saying that all politics in an organization is always a bad thing. I think there's healthy politics and there's unhealthy politics. Like relationship building is positive, right? You need to build relationships with people you're working with so that you can move things forward, so that you can get things done more efficiently, because I know how to connect and talk with you, right? Which is very much different than saying, oh, well, I'm only building, these other dynamics of the old boys club, right? That we can't get through, right? That's not what I'm talking about, the politics, okay? So there are healthy politics, I believe, in an organization that we should come accustomed to. And so again, by making those moves and really trying to be strategic in that way, it can be very helpful for us. Okay, this one was kind of connected, but advocate for yourself, right? So we don't talk about our accomplishments enough. We don't talk about what we've done enough. These are all of the things where I think we have to be a lot more vocal about what we are accomplishing and what we are doing and sharing those wins out, period. Okay. This one is important. It's a little bit of a shift, right? And that is to set boundaries. So on the other side, the dog just like farted. It's really bad. Okay, so set boundaries. So in the case, this is kind of on the polar opposite of, if you have an organization that is consistently asking you for more, to do certain things, blah, blah, all of the things, but you are not being compensated or you are not being recognized according to the things that you are doing, right? that is when you have these issues with boundaries, right? Which is also a sense of saying, hey, I don't really understand that I'm that girl, right? Because I have to bend to whatever my supervisor says, right? Or I have to do this X, Y, Z, which I think it is based in lack of confidence, right? Because if you know that what you're saying is right, or you know that that's not fair, there would be no way that you were going to allow whatever that happened other than to basically be self-sacrificing in the workplace, which is what we often do. And that is not what is helpful for us to move forward or get the compensation, the promotion, or the pivot in our career, right? And so I want you to be okay setting those boundaries, right? Oh, you want me to take on more of this work? Well, can we like discuss what development opportunities are available? It doesn't always mean that the pivot is like right now, like I'm getting the title shift right now. I'm sorry. I was typing away in another tab and had to come back for that dog fart comment. This is what keeps me on TV like my grandma watches HSN and keeps me sleeping. It's really bad over here. Okay, so does anybody have on a call either have a beagle or have had a beagle? Okay, it's something not set up in their digestive systems, right? I mean, it's real rough. Okay, we have a pitty and a beagle, and I will say if the pitty has a sensitive stomach, so if the pitty eats something that the pitty is not supposed to eat, it's real rough. Okay, but the beagle is real. It's like, what is wrong with you? It's always like it's so bad. It's okay, and he's very needy, so he wants to be all up under me. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm back. What were we talking about? Boundaries. Okay. So essentially, set your boundaries. Okay. When you are considering taking on additional work, or you are considering, learning a new skill for an organization, like don't forget what is really for you, right? Don't forget. Laughing at the comments. I'm gonna put it. Oh gosh. Okay, I'll put it up there so you can read it. I keep focusing for the people who are really here to not be distracted by me. But that being said, like really understand and know what your goals are, right? And so if what you are being asked to do is really going to ultimately like support you and your goals, like okay, maybe it's something that you can negotiate or to talk about, right? But if not, then maybe it's not something that you want to do. Sorry, I'm trying to get my camera to refocus on me. Okay, there it goes. Okay. And then I'm going to encourage you to ask for what you want more regularly, right? And I don't think it always means necessarily a promotion, right? So sometimes we're not asking for what we want when it comes to how people are communicating with us, how people are working with us, what we are taking on, how the work is done, right? So how many times, if I'm calling you out, go ahead and let me know. How many times have like somebody come to you and said, oh, we need to do this, and you like knew that wasn't really the right way, but you were like, you didn't want to like really like, get into a workplace disagreement, or you just didn't know how they were going to feel. Maybe this is your first time working with them and you didn't like say anything. You just were like, okay, I'll go ahead and do this the right way. That's not actually effective for anybody, nor is it for the organization. Okay, and so reasonably, if you have a healthy workplace culture, particularly, they should be like, yeah, let's do that the most effective way. And I've even seen people who do this in like very warm, inclusive environments, right? Where people are like, yeah, I do want to hear what you have to say, but you're scared of saying it, right? And that's again not in the energy of like, I already know this is this is for me. I already know that this is right. I already know that I'm an expert. I have all my receipts. I am that girl. Okay, so that's the last thing here. And then even if it's a job, and I know we're talking about navigating the workplace right now, but even again, if it is a job that you are applying for, it is a role that you're being considered for internally, like, yeah, still move like you are still that girl, right? That you already have exactly what you want. And it is the job, it is the pivot, it is the compensation. And I think it's a lot easier to get into the mindset of being able to negotiate or set boundaries when we already know what we want and we believe that that's possible, okay? So that's what I want you to do when it comes to the job. Okay, so I'm reading here. Kimberly always has the long comments, but I will read a little bit. So Kimberly was basically saying to choose yourself. Absolutely. Yes. We had another live session where we talked about centering yourself and your decisions in the workplace. Period. Okay. We don't center ourselves enough. We center what our employer, what our job will think, the job in general, what our family friends will think, what our boss will think, what our colleagues will think, what they'll feel, like how they'll be impacted. Like, do you, okay? And yes. Okay, so we're going through, yes, saying we can honor ourselves, we can rise, and we are allowed to choose us. Thanks, Kimberly. Okay, so let's say, you know what? I'm going to tell a little bit of my story from the relation of this, right? Because again, I want you to like see that it's not as hard as it is. I'm not saying it's easy to have uncomfortable conversations, but I'm saying you have a lot more opportunity to really ask and get what you want. And so again, I moved into my first management role. And coming into that, I was already moving as though I already knew it was mine, right? So I had set up my understanding or my receipts of my skill set by basically sharing that there were so many other opportunities in the past where I had informally managed others, managed interns, managed others in big projects, delegated, oversaw complex and high level work, created strategies. Those are the types of things that I felt like was a qualification for my goals and my skill set, right? So as soon as I started in my next organization, I was not worried about my manager being threatened, though she wasn't fabulous. I wasn't worried about like perceptions of all of the different things about somebody coming in and being like, I want to move into management immediately. Like, I know what I want to do. And so I'm going to advocate for myself. So I started again having those conversations saying, you know, these are some of my goals. This is what I want to do. I want to prepare myself for that when it is available, right? I'm not saying we're going in there all like, I want the manager role now, right? If you're growing and developing and trying to navigate a new organization, right? That is part of playing the political game, which is not always a bad thing, like I said. So I was advocating for myself to be able to go to those trainings, to get opportunities to take on work that was more aligned. I was able to set boundaries in terms of my work-life balance, right? All at the same time. So this did not mean that I was taking on work that was not relevant or fair for me from a developmental standpoint. And so there were things where I was still able to set healthy boundaries around my workload, but still show up as a high performer. So those are those dynamics. This conversation, you know what? That is for those conversations for people that like overwork themselves. Like, I have seen Black women go into an organization that didn't ask for them to overwork, but they have overworked and they have still not gotten what they wanted because they just thought that the overwork. And Nicole, if you were on live, I think you posted about this the other day. The overworking does not mean a thing, okay? Okay. You got to play these other things. Like, you're not just going to get there through work ethic, okay? So then I asked for what I wanted, and I applied for the job, right? And because of the other relationships that I had done, because I was making moves, people had already been sharing to all of the decision makers in the process. Like, I had kudos, I had people really appreciate the work that I was doing, feel like it was high value and impactful. I had really created a reputation for myself in the organization with the leaders that I work with, right? And so when it came time to actually get what I wanted, I had already moved in all the ways that I knew it was possible for me to move to accept that, right? And so it was. And it was very unexpected, actually. When that whole thing happened, right? I wasn't expecting my supervisor to leave, but I was like, hey, it's my role. I prepared for it, okay? And yeah, and I applied and I interviewed with confidence, and it was a great opportunity for me to get to that next level and be my first management level role. Okay. So here are the things. So if you are here and you were like, Mercedes, I have never played the political game at work, right? It doesn't always have to be bad, like you said. Let's start here. Politics in the workplace doesn't always have to mean it's a bad thing. It means that we understand how to navigate. And I am not whitewashing this idea of what it means to navigate. I do not mean to leave your Blackness outside. I do not mean to assimilate. I do not mean to that thing where we are just trying to adhere to the norms that others expect for us. I still mean authentically, right? I'm saying to do this as you are. I'm not saying to leave any part of yourself, but I'm saying we can still think about the dynamics every time we make a decision, right? Not hypervigilance either, okay? Y'all don't bring your trauma. I brought my trauma. I'm talking to myself, right? Do not bring your trauma into this equation. I'm talking about authentic navigation in the workplace, confident, authentic navigation, okay? So here are some of the things whenever you're making a decision. So you have this goal, you have this thing that you want to achieve. Here are some of the things that you might want to think about so that you can walk in confidence at work. So the first one is, who are the decision makers in making my goal happen? Whatever it is, shift in work, a promotion, new projects, approval of your certificate. I don't care what it is, whatever your goal is. what is it? Maybe you're setting a boundary and you've been overworking and now you need people to get on board with that. Who are the people who need to get on board with that, right? So who are these players in this decision? And what do they want, right? What does each person in this decision, is your supervisor and your director, maybe you have a manager and director, if they're decision makers, what does your director care about? Does your director have comparable values to you? Does your director understand the importance of what you want? If maybe you don't think that, how can you build a case for that, right? How can you say, hey, this is something that I think would be really important for us to move forward with and do, and here are these reasons, right? So understanding what they want is part of how you move. It doesn't mean that you're being fake. It doesn't mean that you are selling out. It just means that you are helping somebody else buy into what you know is right by understanding what they need. It doesn't mean lying. It doesn't, okay? So leave your workplace trauma at home when I'm talking about this, okay? I know we deal with a lot. Leave that at home. I'm talking about truly understanding how something could be mutually beneficial based on what somebody else is telling you versus what you want. Okay. Number 3, what are the organization's norms? This could be related to how people speak and interact with each other, but this could also be like just a way of doing things, right? So if you have something that you want, let's say a promotion, but your organization only approves promotions or or maybe you have to apply for a promotion. Maybe there is a set yearly cadence when promotions are granted, right? What's the context of your organization for whatever it is you're trying to get done? And then, of course, I said this the whole time, but what you want, right? So if you are saying, okay, maybe you don't like your work duties. Maybe you want to do something else. It could be that you want a whole nother role in a whole different department, and you just don't want to work here anymore. It doesn't mean you don't want to work for the organization. You just don't want to work in the role that you're in. Okay? Coffee sip. And it says not today. Let me not do that because my camera's going to go out of focus again and I'm going to be fighting with the camera. Okay, so you are trying to move to another department, right? That's what you want, right? Your manager might not want that. Your manager might be like, oh my God, I don't know what to do without you. Okay. So maybe in moving into another department, you have 3 decision makers. You have your supervisor, the supervisor that you might work with, and you have maybe a director or a vice president or something that would have to approve that too, right? So they're your decision makers. What is most important to them? Well, your supervisor is probably most concerned about your work getting done. The person over there may be most concerned about bringing a new asset to the team or bringing a fresh perspective, a set, accomplishing, maybe the role is already vacant and absent, and so you could just fill that just naturally, just being you. And then maybe your vice president is actually really concerned about how people are being leveraged, using employees' skills in the best ways, development and moving people around so that there's career growth, right? Maybe not. Maybe they don't care at all. What do they care about then? Do they care about a particular project that you may be wanting to do in that next department? Like, let's get into their heads and what it is that they really want. One of the things that I really love for this to actually get into understanding what they really want is like listening to things like the town halls or the group meetings and what they say are priorities. Those are some of the best ways that you can actually build a case about creating what you want, right? And then also for the organizational norms. So when there's a norm, is it the other department that approves the transfer and your current department just deals with it? Is it overall like we don't care about any of the supervisors and it's just this person up here? You start that process by talking to HR. Like, what are all of the steps and is there a formal process for you? It's like ask those questions in a way that's not like alarming, but like, just kind of see if you can figure it out. Maybe you know somebody else who did something similar, right? Like figure out what the process is. And try and navigate those norms, right? So maybe you understand that, okay, maybe my supervisor is super territorial. She's not going to let me go. Well, maybe I then just start building relationships with that other supervisor. Maybe I don't go at it as, oh, I'm trying to transfer, but I'm trying to learn a little bit more. Maybe you can do a cross-functional project with that team. Maybe you can do job shadowing as a longer-term development thing, but you're not planning on leaving right now. Maybe you can talk to that vice president and ask, like, what are ways for you to grow and develop, and share maybe that you're interested in a certain thing. It doesn't mean that we have to be super reactive or super urgent in all of the things that we do, right? Like organizations do need time to move people around and whatever, right? So it means that you can make these long-term strategic plays to get to where you want to in your career, right? And it's all based on what you want. But understanding these kind of levers and what you're pulling and who you're connecting to and what you do are all things that can kind of help you get to what you want because you're strategic, right? So again, see all of these connection points. And I will say, like, my thing is absolutely relationship building. It's not always everybody's cup of tea, but those are the ways that I choose to like navigate through my career. If you are somebody that's very like strategy focused, impact focused, right? You can focus on some of those things as you move forward. Like, okay, that's what I value or I contribute. Like, let me do pitches about what I would like to do in this department if I were to move, right? There are so many different things. Or maybe you're like, okay, I'm going to gain visibility by working on this really exciting strategy that the organization really needs and whatever, right? There's so many different things that you can consider in this based on you authentically, okay? And so bringing that all back, again, the biggest thing in that is to really understand and get clear on what you want. And I've done multiple lives on all of that. Okay, so you can go back and watch those. The Career Bliss one, we did the Black Woman Bliss audit yesterday. Those are all things that are going to help you. Okay, so the last thing is being unapologetic and confident in how you are moving, right? So all of the things that I've already mentioned, including really having your receipts, moving like you know it's going to happen, being strategic, are all going to add up to you having a couple of the things in place, which one of those is having those job search standards and then actually making the moves and setting up a plan for you. So in this case, right, I think what happens a lot of times is like we may know that we are valuable, and we may know what the gap is or like what to do, but often we don't recognize that there's things that are not normal about this, right? So much is toxic in the workplace that we just kind of accept it and we kind of move on. What I want to encourage you to do is to say, hey, I do see that gap. I do understand it. And I do know that there's better out there for me. And so I'm going to take the steps based on those standards. The organization that I'm at can honor those standards and what I expect. So if I expect for an organization to promote me based on my contributions and based on availability and pay me accordingly, then I know if I've taken these steps and I've moved in I've moved in a way that I know I did that confidently and advocated for myself, and those things are not happening, then I know it's truly not walking in confidence if I choose to stay, or if I choose just to deal with it, or I don't continue making moves, right? And I'm, like I said, it may not be the first time, but you navigating that, particularly if you were in a place that you actually really like working, right? And it's just like, okay, I do want some growth opportunities. I really like this organization, their culture, those types of things. I think that's a good place to like continue to stick it out. Not stick it out long term, but stick it out to continue to navigate so that you have more time and opportunity and space for people to advocate for you as well. Like, it's not just like, oh, I told my supervisor I wanted the raise and they're like, great, I can do that unilaterally. Okay. Usually there's other, like I said, decision makers in that. And so what I would encourage you to do is kind of to think about a couple of the things as we wrap up for reflection. Okay. So what is it you want? What do you want right now? And what is one way that you can confidently ask for what you want? If it is the promotion, how can you start to think about what growth opportunities are available to you and what a conversation, like opening up that conversation with your supervisor, or if it's normal for you to do skip levels, like talking to the higher level person about growth and development. If it's a raise, perhaps your next step is to actually go out there and do an evaluation of salary, right? You can use things like payscale.com. You can go to industry job boards or get industry reports. You can even do that by just looking at common jobs that do have their range that are listed on places like job boards, okay? So yeah, and how can you say, well, now how can you say, you can open up a conversation about, you've been able to reflect on your contributions, your accomplishments in the workplace here. And, based on your evaluation of what's going on in the market, you believe that a range of that would be comparable for your work and your skill set and your experience and your impact, all of those things would be closer to this range. How do we have a conversation about that, right? Are there alternative environments that would be better for you? So a lot of times, and we had a conversation a couple of live streams ago where we were talking about accommodations in the workplace. And again, because we think that will be negatively perceived, which many of us are, I'm not saying that this like walking confidently doesn't mean that suddenly the bias is going to go away. No, it just means that you confidently know and navigate your workplace and your career and your relationships with others in the workplace confidently so that you can get what you want, right? And so confidently going to ask for those alternative situations, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean accommodations. It could just be alternative ways to work, alternative teams, alternative processes that work better for you and probably other people, okay? So yeah, setting boundaries. And then in terms of career moves, I do want to encourage you to think about that as well. If you are taking a pivot or you're making a career pivot and all of those things, and you want to have a different experience, having those standards are so important for you to be able to say, hey, I am making a great career decision because I know that this organization meets my standards and what I expect from my next employer, right? So if y'all still rocking with me, we're wrapping up soon. So if you're rocking with me, and you have a question, we'll just drop the question. But if you are still here, just say, hey, I got through 45 minutes of this live stream and it was great. And I'm still that girl. Let me know. Yeah. And if you are watching this later for replay, you are welcome to also ask me questions. I love kind of going back through the comments and answering anything that comes up. Last request before I talk about creating a plan for this is to actually, if you have a moment and you are on a platform that allows you to do that, such as LinkedIn, and you would like to share this live, it is super helpful, particularly if you are reposting it and sharing it with your network. That helps this message and this information. Not the dog farts and all. Yeah. So yeah, if you were here, share this live stream with another Black woman who can really use this, because I think that at the end of the day, essentially, the more that all of us collectively as Black women are navigating in the workplace, it makes it more normal. It makes it easier for the next Black woman. Like, you're like, oh, I already had one Black woman tell me she needed her raise, she needed her boundaries met. Okay, so hey. And I think it makes it easier for us as we unnormalize all the weird stuff that employers do and normalize this. So, hey, Monica, hey, Kay, y'all still rocking with me, okay? All the dog farts. The Beagle left, and that is the only reason that there are no more dog farts. The Beagle, I don't know, maybe he said he was trying to sleep and it was too loud. I didn't put a dog bed in here, so that's probably why I'm alone. And I'm okay with that, really, I am. Okay, so here we go. So let's set a little bit of a plan. And the plan is also connected to my upcoming webinar. So what I want to encourage you today is, out of all of the topics that we've talked about today, I encourage you to take these 3 steps. So the first one is to gain clarity. If we do not know what we want, we cannot walk confidently, right? What is it that we want? If we do not take time to think about what's wrong or not meeting our standards or what we are actually expecting from our employers in terms of how they treat us and how they talk with us and how they promote us and how whatever the situation isn't what we want, it is very hard to do anything else, right? And I think the other part of that is to go to like step 2 and deciding like, hey, how can I really break this cycle? So I didn't go into it today, but a lot of the things I'm talking about when we don't show up confidently actually puts us into relatable beagle. Yeah, I know. A beagle is like a textbook beagle and it's very stressful actually. Who got the beagle? Okay, I'm a pity girly. Okay, that's that man who said, let's get a beagle. Not really. He inherited a beagle. It's not really inherited because like nobody died, but it's like it's a family pet offspring beagle. Thank you, Kimberly. Okay. Yeah, beagles are rough. Okay, they're cute. Really, really stinking cute and like tiny and the most adorable things. Very stinky. I think if I say the other word for the other thing that is stinky, I think that I'll get blocked. But you know, if you have a dog and those things don't get emptied, that is peak beagle problems. Okay, this live is quickly becoming about beagles. If you have questions about beagles, I'm just kidding. I'll have to post a picture of the beagle later. Okay. Okay, let's wrap this up. So a lot of times the things that I've been talking about where we do not recognize what has gone wrong, where we do not recognize that we are being undervalued, we don't advocate for our worth, we go on to the next organization and we repeat those things. And then we say, oh my gosh, all workplaces are toxic and terrible and nobody will ever respect me. This is what it looks like, right? But I'm saying that while we can't control what our employers do, the type of environment truly that they create, we play a part in the environment, but it doesn't mean that we get to control all of it, right? But it does mean that there are some elements that are within our control, right? If you are complaining about your organization and how they leverage your time and your resources and how they speak with you, I have literally seen this happen where everyone else has a completely different experience and unfortunately one Black woman, but she's also moving differently in that space, right? Because she has been accustomed to certain behaviors, right? And so is she accepting it when other people are not, right? Because I've been in situations where, yes, I'm the Black woman, I'm not having a good time because that leader is terrible. But I've also set my boundaries and I've shown up for myself and I've confidently set standards of how people should speak and act and talk to me, right? And so that has not been done by other people who are not who are not Black, who are not people of color. And that dynamic has greatly shifted, and I've seen other people not be treated as kindly, if we call it that, because whatever. I haven't been treated as poorly as others, is what I would say. And so obviously that's not a situation that you want to stay in. I'm just saying that this is a cycle, right? So understanding and identifying, hey, here are the things that I want, here are the things that I don't want. And I am really trying to shift those things for me. Okay, question. Oh my God, questions. Okay. Okay, I'll talk about strategy. So question in the chat is, was there an event you could share that you experienced that helped you break the toxic workplace cycle? So I think it's been really interesting. I don't have the typical cycle or the story, at least in terms of what I hear from others or what they share. And I say that because I actually went into a work environment for the first time where I was very happy. I felt very included. I felt very valued. I felt very seen. I felt like the work that I did mattered, right? And I think that's a huge part of feeling that I belong. And so I think because that was my first experience, it was like, oh, okay, well, I'm just moving differently. Like I already know the benchmark for how I should feel when I come to work. So therefore there's this jarring shift. I recognize it and I can choose to see, I can move differently because I already know how I moved, if that makes sense. So I think a lot of it is wrapped up in mindset and behavior when you're trying to break that cycle. And so part of that is saying, what are, and this is not I'm not blaming anybody because the workplace is ghetto, okay? But what I'm saying is sometimes our behaviors do, and that's what I was kind of getting at. Our behaviors do impact us being in that cycle, right? So what I see happen most is that Black women normalize this dysfunction that we see in supervisors, right? Oh, well, I went to an interview and I didn't really like them that much, but you know, it was an okay interview. The job's great, the pay is great. And like it was okay. I wasn't like super excited, but like I moved. And I'm like, well, if you didn't vibe with them in the interview, you didn't really like them. What were you expecting to come into? And I'm not saying that everybody desires to be in a workplace that's all warm and like, you know, people talk to each other and like have relationships and like whatever. I'm not saying that that's for everybody, but what I'm saying is that's an expectation for me. So in that case, I know that if I am not vibing with the person that I'm interviewing with, that I don't feel like I'm connected or that I like them or that they made me laugh. If I ever go back to the workplace and I don't laugh in an interview, like not nervous laugh, like real laugh, I'm not really sure that's where I want to be. Like I want to work with some people with some humor. Okay, I want to work with people that like them, like life, like work. Okay, like that because I like work. I want you to like work too. If we can't bond in an interview about liking work and laughing about something that happens at work, then maybe it's like not the right place for me because I want to laugh in our meetings. So I'm sorry, I'm going on a rant, but like those are some of the shifts, right? And so it is a behavior to say, hey, we're going to oversee, we're going to overlook red flags, we're going to ignore them, we're going to say that these toxic behaviors are no or are okay, right? So is there disorganization? Do you did anything shift in the recruitment process that didn't quite sound right? Are they paying you below market? Did they take a long time to get back to you? Does it seem super inefficient? Sorry, I've already said, does it seem super inefficient, right? And so sometimes when we say, okay, yeah, that's normal, I'm going to keep moving forward, those are flags, and that kind of puts us back in the cycle because we aren't shifting what we've already experienced. We want to experience something that's great. We want to go through a whole process and be like, I'm so excited. Everything was great. This was the perfect process. The manager is great. I really love the team. The recruiter told me everything. The role is perfect. That's a very different energy in going to a job search, right? So those are some of the things that have allowed me to break that cycle, right? And there have been times where I didn't because it wasn't something that I experienced before. Like I remember I was asking in an interview, I was like, what is the strategic plan for this organization? And I got like some wishy-washy answers, and they were like, oh, we're in the process of like redoing our strategic plan. I like took that. I was like, okay, like everything else seems fine. Everything else seems fine, so it must be fine. But that wasn't something that I had previously experienced. I'm not saying it's always us, right? Sometimes we have to learn and we grow. But anyway, all I'm saying from that is that I learned once I got into the organization that they had really hard big challenges making decisions to move forward with the strategic plan is all I'm going to say about that. And so that's all in our process and like in our locus of control. I think that a more tactical thing, so that was kind of more the mindset, but I think a more tactical thing is that once you have changed your behaviors and how you're vetting and evaluating employers through like those standards and making sure you're shifting your behaviors in your job search, I think sometimes what also happens is that we take those toxic experiences into our next workplace. So I think that this happens most often with Black women overworking, right? We were used to having to prove our worth and to overwork for to be seen, to be valued, to be heard at all, and that's our norm. Like it's like right, we all experience like quote unquote Black excellence, and having that to be the standard, right? And so from that regard, sometimes we take that energy of what we had to learn to do to navigate those spaces, and we automatically move that into the next role because that's been our experience. And so that's something to do there. And I say that it's a really good practice to actually take a break in between roles so that you can reset. I don't mean like a whole sabbatical, like a couple. I would say, taking you a couple little weeks is nice. I actually did that between my my last transition, and it was really lovely for me to not take all of that honestly toxic energy from previous supervisor into the next role, so that I can kind of like reset and feel good and not burn out. Okay, so that is what I say. So the last thing is the strategy pieces. So I talked to you about like, hey, there are these really big tactical or these big strategies that you can take about navigating the organization, asking for what you want, advocating, all of those things. So whether it's a tomorrow thing or you're looking at this as more a long-term development piece, I think ultimately really outlining and identifying what will be your strategy to get what you want is really helpful. So yeah. Okay. Wait, what? Coming back from a business trip, spent 3 hours phrasing how I was going to tell my boss no, only for him to be like, sounds good. Ah, wait a second. Wait a second, Monica. Wait. wait. So, like, you asked for what you wanted, and your supervisor was like, great. I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh at you, but that's really what happens to us. I'm not going to say that. Hello, Ryan. That's actually wild, Monica. But I do love it for you because I think it also that's wild. I think it means that we'll be safer to create more of those boundaries in the future. That way we can normalize creating boundaries. I love that for you. They're like, okay, great. That's okay. It's okay. Yay, boundaries. Woo, boundary setting. Boundaries are safe. Okay, y'all. So as we wrap up, yeah, if you have any questions, so as I'm wrapping up, let me know if you have any last questions for me about anything that we've covered. If you have like a burning question about anything career related, like let me know. I'm actually crying about that. I'm gonna put that on my wall about like wins for the week. Somebody set boundaries. Monica set boundaries. And yes, crying. Okay, that's fine. All right. So as we wrap up, let me know if you have any more questions. And hopefully I make it through the rest of this live without any more beagle farts. That being said, I will be kicking the beagle out of the room for my upcoming webinar. It is all about pursuing your Black woman bliss. And a lot of the things that I have talked about today, I will be going through in a more holistic sense of your career and potentially your job search, right? So if you are here and you are in a toxic job, you do not feel fulfilled, you feel like there are a lot of things out of alignment for what you are experiencing in your career right now, and you want to either do one of two things. You want to do a career pivot, so move into another role, or actually launch a business so that essentially you can learn all of the things that you need to start to build a business so that can be your eventual exit point, right? And now I would really encourage you to join me for the webinar. It is free. There are multiple ways that you can join, and they have been here this entire time. So you can go directly to my website at mercedesswan.com. It is linked in the description box or wherever you are watching this from. You also have the option to text BLISS to 321-488-0808 unless you are from Texas, because apparently Texas is spending time on promotional they're locking up representatives, or they are spending time passing bills about SMS promotions. We don't know. Fun stuff out here politically. And then if you also would like to use a QR code, that is up there. So there are many ways for you to join. It is completely free. It is on September 2nd. And I'm really excited about this because it's been a little while since I've done this webinar. I actually haven't done it since the beginning of the year. And I feel like the Black women who really joined just left feeling refreshed, feeling like they were more clear on what they wanted to do, where they wanted to go, all of the things that were important for them to enter their Black woman bliss era. Texas, a ghetto mess. If you are from Texas, I'm just deleting you from my text message list. I love you. It's not personal, but I don't know what y'all doing over there. By the way, you know what? It's fine. I'm here. My mom's not here yet. I'm just going to keep talking. They were like, if you are messaging anybody from Texas at all, doesn't matter if you are, well, there are several exceptions, but it's not like small business. And that's when y'all politicians say, we care about small businesses. You were telling me that a small business who wants to text people in the state of Florida, at least as far as I see, didn't have like business size exemptions for this. Essentially, you have to only text within a period of time, like hours, which is fine. Like, cool, great. I get that. Like, I'm like, sure, I'm not gonna text people at like 9 o'clock at night while they're asleep. Cool, great. Or maybe not. I'm a night owl. I'm up at 9 o'clock at night. That being said, oh, y'all are up. It's 9:20. Y'all are up with me, okay? I'm not texting you at this time, okay? Then they were like, by the way, if you're here, go ahead and sign up for the webinar while I go on this rant. So they said, cool, these are the rules for text messages. And then there was another thing. So there was another thing, but then, oh yeah, there was a list of the exemptions. So what you, like, if you were an educational platform, if they were your customers, like blah, 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 it didn't matter. Those are the exceptions. But if you do want to text and people that don't meet those exceptions, you have to register with the state of Texas. You have to pay them $200 a year. Do y'all know how expensive text messages are? Like really, like business marketing text messages? Anything. And then, I mean, I'm not saying they're really expensive, but what I'm saying is, it's like, I already got to pay you that and 200. Like, what? Like, is this a money grab, Texas? Is this a money grab? Are you trying to get $200 from small businesses that might like text like 5 people in your state? Anywho, that being said, and then there was some type of $20,000 like guarantee of something, and I don't even know what that is, but it sounds like I'm like either giving you this amount of money or somehow certifying that I can pay you this money should something happen. I didn't get into all of that. That's wild. I will not be texting anybody in Texas. Do not text me if you're from Texas to sign up for the webinar. Texas. Why don't you take care of your constituents and stop trying to lock them up? Okay, we're stressed out here. Black women are stressed. Stop trying to lock us into some legislation building. Anyway, this is not where this live is supposed to be going, but here we are. I've had my coffee and I am very much ready to continue to take on the day. That being said, for Career Love community members, I will be probably tomorrow after the next live. I will be, I have for these live streams, I have been creating guides in the community so you can kind of go back and watch them. But if you would like, I should be posting a guide to kind of implement some of the things that we're talking about today in your career. So that'll be in there. And then if you haven't already, you can sign up for the Black Woman Bliss webinar. Somebody said they are, I think Kay said looking for the link for the webinar too. So yeah, if you are looking on YouTube, there in the description box, you should see a link, but it's like, if you go directly to my website, mercedesswan.com, you will see the place to register there and available for you all. But I'm super excited to have this. So September 2nd at 8 p.m. I think that is it for any talking points, anything that I want to do other than like continue to dislike the state of Texas. It's okay. I live in Florida. I dislike Florida too. Anybody can get it. I'm trying to go to New Hampshire. Anybody want to go? Okay, so all of that being said, this has been really lovely. To wrap up, we will be having one last live stream before the webinar, okay? Because this is all of my like webinar or all of my live streams leading up to webinars, as I particularly usually do. Tomorrow we are having another navigating the workplace, but this will really be about more toxic work environments, right? And we will have one of the Career Love community members and author Nicole S. Palmer there to talk about it. We have some discussion prompts and just all of the good things. And by the way, if you have not heard about her book, it is called Playing the Game While Black Womening in Corporate America. And so I'm sure that the topics and lessons, or I think she calls them plays. I think it's plays. I'm sorry, Nicole, don't hurt me. We will be talking about those tomorrow. So I hope that you join me. And what is the time for that tomorrow so that you all can join me? The time is 7:30 p.m., so a little bit earlier than today. And I will see you tomorrow. And if not, I hope to see you on the Black Woman Bliss webinar. Okay, beautifuls. I don't see any other questions. This was really lovely. Thanks for rocking with me and asking all the great questions and all the vibes. And I will see you tomorrow or next week. Bye. Have a great night. Yes, Nicole is in the community and Nicole is fabulous. Yes, so Nicole, you were here. So Nicole, yes, Nicole is a Career Love community member, and she'll be hosting her book next. I think she's gonna like relaunch, but she'll be hosting her book club in there. So if you want to read with the group, then you can do that. Here, let me go find the book. Oh my gosh. So yeah, this is her book. And she'll be hosting the book club in there. So if you want to read that. So there's 2 book clubs. Let me talking to my ladies. So there's 2 book clubs that are starting. The first one is The Artist's Way, which we're starting on the 1st. And my mom's going to do that with me. My mom's actually coming. So we're going to start together. And Nicole, I think, is going to start mid September-ish. So playing the game while Black women in corporate America. So those are the 2 book clubs that we are doing. I've never done a book club because realistically, I thought that I did not like reading anymore, but it was actually just that I was stressed from work and business. So I started reading a book while I was on vacation. I was like, oh, I actually do like reading books. That's great. Crazy. So anyway, so we'll do this. Okay. For me and Oswald, Eugene. Why do I keep calling him Oswald? His name is Eugene. Is that what his original name was? His thing's not on here. I usually don't rip their tags off. Anyway, me and Eugene says goodbye. I don't know why I called him Oswald. Maybe that was his original name. Oh. Oh. I'm sorry for those on LinkedIn if anybody's still talking with me on LinkedIn. Oh. Interesting. Okay. So Kay said, I love toxic relationships, but struggle with toxic work environments because we can't be work celibate in this economy. Very true. It is hard to be work celibate. I am lovingly work celibate from work. Well, I should say not self-inflicted work celibate. Okay. I get to choose my own work, which is really nice. But yeah, so I will say, Kay, the community does have a plethora of information about breaking the toxic job search cycle, but we are also talking about in the webinar, so it'll be a good refresher. Okay, and then the Notion links for Artist's Way on the calendar didn't work for me. Okay, so the Notion link, okay, I'm glad that you said that. So the Notion links on the calendar are actually just connected to my task manager, which I just realized that might be confusing for people. So okay, are you going to do the Artist's Way book club with us? No pressure, just like let me know, because then I'll do updates. So essentially what I was going to do is I was just going to post updates for each week that I'm working through it and bully my mom into actually posting in the community. Maybe I shouldn't say that word on live. Get my mom to post in the community too, just reflections. And then I was going to do posts in the community. And then if we wanted to, we could, excuse me. And then if we wanted to, we could have a chat, like, so we could just do a live session in the community to talk about it. So let me know. But the Notion links in the calendar are for my own project management. I'm sorry, that is very confusing. Yeah. Yes, I had never heard of it. I heard of it for the first time with all of the Dochi stuff. So yeah, that is why I decided to do it. I decided to do it, not just because Dochi. I mean, I did love her story, and that is how I was like, excuse me, and that is how I was introduced to it. But I actually did not see Dochi's actual stuff about it. I had seen some other creator. Anyway, so I am in a space. The reason why I'm doing that is I'm in a space of really working on my content and creating, like, really defining what I want my content to be creatively. And I've talked about kind of these goals of like thought leadership. Now we're just talking of thought leadership. And so that's one of the things, like, I really do want to kind of get into my creative bag in terms of like what I'm creating and the philosophy and thought behind really talking about the Black Woman Bliss framework, talking about what it means to be in your career love era, all of those things. And so I think that's going to be a journey. So yes, so I am definitely reading it because of Dochi, in terms of that's how I discovered it, by seeing other people talk about it in terms of their content creation journey. But yeah, that's some of my goals for watching it. Okay, let me know, okay, if you want me to do the posting, because and I'm not like offended either way, but I just need to know if like I should be making my public post about my reflections about the artist way or not. But we'll be starting on the 1st, which is Monday. Okay, beautiful people. I don't see any other thoughts or questions. But I will see you in the community. And I will see you tomorrow. And then if there are any community members who would like to talk about, like, reflect on any of this in the community, just like you can make your post and stuff. So, yay. Okay, beautiful people. I will see you later. Bye. Okay, cool. You'd love to see it. Great. Cool. Noted. All right. I will see you later. Have a good night. I am going to go let the beagle outside so he can do what beagles do and wake up the whole neighborhood. Bye. The whole tiny neighborhood. Okay, bye.